What if I told you a bank could take your property without ever setting foot in a courtroom? Sounds pretty wild, right? Well, in India, a single piece of law made that a reality. Today we're going to dive into how something called the SARFAESI Act completely flipped the script for banks and borrowers.
All right, so let's start with a pretty basic question. What actually happens when a bank has way too many bad loans? Loans where people just stop paying. It's not just some headache for the bank's accountants. No, it's more like a crack forming in the very foundation of the whole economy.
So, in the world of finance, these bad loans have a fancy name: non-performing assets, or NPAs for short. And when these things start to pile up, man, it's like a dead weight. It just drags the whole bank down, draining its ability to give out new loans. And by the turn of the millennium, India's banks were practically drowning in these NPAs. It got so bad it was threatening to bring the country's economic growth to a screeching halt.
So, faced with this just spiraling crisis, India decided it needed to do something big, something radical. They came up with a powerful new law designed to just slice right through this whole mess.
And here it is. Get ready for it. The Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Securities Interest Act of 2002. Yeah, I know, it is a total mouthful. We're just going to call it the SARFAESI Act. But look, don't get hung up on that crazy name. The only thing that really matters is what it did. It essentially gave banks a super fast, direct highway to get their money back.
Okay, so the Act had a very clear mission. The first couple of objectives here, they're all about creating smarter, more efficient ways to handle bad debt, packaging it up, managing it better. But that last one, enforce security interest without court intervention? Whoa, that was the revolution. That right there was the absolute game changer.
So, to make all this happen, the Act basically handed banks a brand new toolkit. You can think of it as a three-pronged attack, specifically designed to take care of these NPAs and do it fast.
And these three tools were securitization, asset reconstruction, and security enforcement. They're just three different ways of tackling the exact same problem. How do you turn a bad loan back into cold, hard cash?
Okay, first up, let's talk about securitization. It sounds super complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Imagine a bank has, say, 100 different car loans. Instead of sitting around for years waiting for every single person to pay them off, the bank bundles them all up into one giant car loan package and sells little pieces of that package to investors. Just like that, the bank gets its money back right away, and the investors are the ones who collect the future payments. Pretty clever, huh?
All right, next on the list is asset reconstruction. You can think of this as basically financial rehab for a bad loan. What happens is special companies come in and buy the bad loan from the bank, usually for pennies on the dollar. Then it's their job to try and fix it. Maybe they work out a new payment plan with the borrower. The whole goal is to turn that non-performing asset back into a performing one.
And finally, we get to the third tool. And honestly, this one's the hammer: security enforcement. And it is shockingly straightforward. If you default on your loan, the bank sends you a notice. You've got 60 days to pay what you owe. And if you don't, the bank can just take your property. That's it. No judges, no lawyers, no spending years stuck in a courtroom. So when you put all of this together, what you get isn't just a few new rules on the books. No, what happened was a fundamental, seismic shift in power across the entire financial landscape of India. And to really get your head around just how massive this change was, just look at the before and after. Before this act, if a bank wanted to recover a bad loan, it was a nightmare. A slow, twisting, bureaucratic maze through the courts that could literally take years, sometimes even decades. But after the act, it was a straight line, a rocket ship. All the power and all the speed shifted directly to the banks.
So look, there is absolutely no doubt that the SARFAESI Act was like strong medicine for India's very sick banking system. And you know what? It worked. It really did. But it also leaves us with this huge, lingering question. In the rush to save the banks, did this new law maybe give them a little too much power over the average person? And that's the debate that's still raging today.